Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Khatamin nabiyyin abil qasim Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin alladhina adhhaba Allahu anhum ar-rijsa wa tahharahum tatheera. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال الرسول يا رب إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى الله عليه محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. The verse that I recited is from Surah Furqan, verse number 30. Furqan is chapter number 25 from Quran. It is one of the names of the Holy Quran. As many names have been mentioned for the Holy Quran, one of the names is Furqan. And the word Furqan, which is used as a surname for many, literally means that which distinguishes. That which, दो चीज़ों के दरमियान फ़र्क करने वाले को फुरक़ान कहते हैं. So because Quran distinguishes between good and bad, good and evil, that is one of the reasons why the name of Quran is Furqan. But this ayah in particular, if you look at it in this chapter number 25, verse number 30, is sort of a complaint. It's a shikayat, if you want to call it, that is coming from the tongue of our Prophet, who is saying this, that qala al-Rasul, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrates it and He reveals it unto the Prophet, because this is the shikwa of our Rasul. What is the shikwa of our Rasul? What is the complaint of our Rasul? The messenger will say, Lord, my people had abandoned this Quran. And this is a request, or this is a complaint which is true in nature. Why? Because anything that is consistent in Quran, that you find in Quran, cannot be false. And hence we find that this is the complaint. When is Prophet going to be making this complaint? He will be making it in the Day of Judgment. That's when this complaint will be made. Ya qawmi ittakhid, Ya Rabbi, inna qawmi ittakhadu hadha al-Qur'ana mahjura. That my people abandoned this book. So we understand that it is one of the requests of Rasulullah, not that every single person from the qawm and the nation of Rasulullah abandoned it. So we could be one of those who are not part of this ayah, or we're not the misdaq of this particular ayah. The word hajra means disconnect with an action, with the body, with the tongue, or with the heart. Hence the connection between mankind and the divine is the divine scripture must be permanent and all-inclusive. So you cannot disconnect yourself from this Holy Quran. Therefore you find that so much emphasis is laid when it comes to the month of Ramadan. Month of Ramadan is month of Quran, the month in which the Quran was revealed. The ayat of Quran says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah. In one place, it says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. At another place, that we revealed this book on the night of Qadr. So we understand that this Quran was revealed. So we need to understand the revelation of Quran. The Quran has different revelations. One is the instantaneous revelation of Quran. Another is the gradual revelation of Quran. So what happened is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the entire Quran onto the heart of our Prophet in this night. That is the reason it says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, that we revealed this book on the night of Qadr. So in Arabic you have two verbs from the same root of nazala. Nazala means to come down. So you have two verbs from the same root. One goes into babi if'al, anzala, yunzilu, inzal. That means coming down. That means bringing down. And then you have another verb from the same root, which is nazzala, yunazzilu, tanzil. So you use both words for Quran. Anzala al-Quran or tanzil of Quran. What's the difference? Have you ever wondered why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran uses both words for Quran? In this ayat of Surah Qadr, it says what? Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. So he's using the verb anzala. That we reveal this Quran on the night of Qadr. The word anzala in Arabic grammar refers towards something which is revealed all in its entirety. So hence on the 23rd or 25th or 21st, whatever the night of Qadr is, entire Quran was revealed unto the heart of the Prophet. So that is the reason the Prophet has the knowledge of the entire Quran as it was revealed gradually for the 23 years. Because some of the ayat of Quran say what? La ta'jal, O Prophet, don't supersede, don't exceed our commands. Let us tell you before you go ahead and say something. La ta'jal, do not rush into explaining the verses or revealing or reciting the verses. Wait for our commands and then go ahead and recite the ayat of Quran. So Prophet would use this protocol to wait for the ayat to be revealed for that particular instance, and then he would recite it. For example, a group of Jews came to a Prophet and they said to the Prophet what? He said, describe your Lord, your God to us. Prophet could have said, if you ask any child, any Muslim child today, they would be able to respond. But Prophet waited. Did he not know? He knew. But he waited because it's a protocol that he wants to follow. He wants to tell everyone that so tomorrow nobody says that Prophet was the one who documented this book. So he waited for 3 days. Jibreel comes down with these ayat, which you all have memorized. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Defining, explaining, describing the attributes, accolades of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what they asked for. So Prophet used that protocol. But at another place in the Quran you find, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra. It did not say, Inna nahnu anzalna dhikra. It said, nazzalna dhikra. The word nazzala in Arabic comes from tanzil. Tanzil is when something comes down gradually in pieces and bits, not all together entirely. So therefore, both verbs are used in Quran, which reveals the fact that Quran has two types of revelations. One instantaneous, which was night of Qadr, which is during the month of Ramadan. And the other one was, gradual revelation of Quran for the period of 23 years when Prophet propagated amongst his people. So, Quran is the essential part of our life. It should be. And I will get into the details of it further, that how it should be implemented in our lives. How Prophet is saying that Quran was abandoned. On the Day of Judgment, Prophet will make this complaint. Oh my Lord, my people abandoned this Quran. What does that mean to abandon the Quran? We'll get into the details. Not reading Quran, giving preference to other books over Quran, not considering Quran access of your life, not pondering over it, not teaching it to the others, and not acting upon it. All of these go under the misdaq and the implementation of abandonment of the book. If you don't read, you're abandoning. You don't act upon it, you're abandoning it. You don't consider it to be access of your life, you're abandoning it. You don't go ahead and teach others, you're abandoning this book. All are under the category of abandoning. Even someone who studied Quran, but then has put it aside and never touched it again. Guess what? He's abandoned this Quran. We have these gatherings called Ameen. Good. It's very good. I encourage. I get invited to Ameen to go ahead and recite the Quran with the child who just finished the Quran. So they're reciting, they're doing their Ameen. It's a very good gesture. It gives these children a sense of, importance that they have accomplished something. There was a feat that they have accomplished. So it's a very good thing. It should be celebrated. But what happens? We're in a competition to finish the Quran so that our child finishes the Quran as soon as possible, at the earliest age, at 6 or 7 or 8, before so-and-so finishes. And so that we can go ahead and have this Ameen for them. And then we can close this Quran and put it away. By the time the child turns 15, they've forgotten all the Quran. They don't know how to read it. Quran is something which will leave you. If you leave it, it will leave you as well. Quran talks about it, Allah talks about it, that they left us, we forgot about them. Ansahum, we forgot about them. When they forgot about us, we forgot about them. So the complaint is real. Although Prophet is Rahmatan lil Alameen, he wouldn't curse us, but just reciting this book isn't enough. So you understand, although it is one of the, misdaq of abandonment is not to recite, but reciting is the first step towards not abandoning this book. So many of us recite this Quran, but still we could be called those who have abandoned this book. Why? Because we did not understand this Quran. On numerous occasions it says, أَفَلَا تَتَدَبَّرُونَ عَلَى الْقُرْآنِ. Do they not ponder over this book? Do they not contemplate over this book? Or is there qufl, their hearts have been locked up? What's wrong with them? So all of these go under the category of mahjuriyat. We recite that one of the relevant things in the month of Ramadan is the recitation of Quran. A lot of emphasis is put on in recitation of Quran. A lot of people recite Quran during the month of Ramadan. They begin in the month of Ramadan. Some people have the ability to recite 2 or 3 times. They finish the entire Quran, which is good. Some people struggle even with just one. And then there's this thing, unknown rule or unofficial rule, that when you begin Quran in Ramadan, you have to finish it in Quran. I don't know where that rule came from. It's a good thing to continue and finish the Quran if it gives you incentive that you must finish it in the month of Ramadan, holy Ramadan. That you started something, you must finish it in the holy month of Ramadan. But there's really no fiqhi aspect of it. If you can, you should, and you must. You try. But if you couldn't, it's not that there's some curse upon you, there's some haram that you have done, or, na'udhu billah, something will happen to you. No. But you should make an effort to go ahead and finish once, twice, even more than that. But I will suggest another thing. Finishing Quran 3 or 4 times, what would be better than that? Reading it once with explanation and understanding. And that's what Masumin will tell you as well. I'm not saying it from my own time. Quran recitation is very important. Recited, the Arabic is highly recommended. Well, if someone said, I can't read Arabic, should I No, try and recite in Arabic, because that's the original language of Quran. When you recite the translation, you're not reciting the kalam of Allah. Kalam of Allah is in Arabic, so that's the beauty of it. So you should recite it in Arabic. But because you don't understand the language, kalam of Allah, you use what? You use the translation. You use the tafsir. So this is where the deeper understanding of Quran will come. It's a book which every time we pick up, it gives us something new. I don't know what your relationship to Quran is. That if you read a book once or twice or 3 times or 4 times, you get used to it. You get fed up with it. Then you say, well, I don't want to recite it, read it again. I've read it 3 or 4 times. But Quran is something that every time you open this book, it opens the new gates of knowledge for you. So we need to contemplate in this Quran. Surah Sa'ad says, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakun liyadabbaru ayatihi wa liyatadhakkara ulul albab. Surah Sa'ad, verse number 29. It is a blessed book which we have revealed for you, so that you will reflect upon its verses, and so the people of understanding will take heed. Yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like every ayat requires explanation. He said, yeah, you should contemplate, you should ponder over, you should reflect on its verses, but only the people of understanding will take heed. Kind of like when you recite that ayat of Surah Baqarah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalika al-Kitabu, La Raiba Fi, Hudan lil Muttaqin. That this is the book, there's no doubt about it. And it is guidance for whom? Muttaqin. We talked about Muttaqin last night. Very briefly, but we talked about Muttaqin last night. It's a guidance for Muttaqin. Look how fasting is attached with it. You fast, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. You fast so you become what? Muttaqi. Right? You fast so you become Muttaqi. And then Muttaqin are the ones who are receiving this guidance from Quran. Hudan lil Muttaqin. So wait a minute. I thought this book was for everyone. Prophet is Rahmatan lil Alameen. This book is for Alameen. Why are you limiting it to only Muttaqin? Mufassir gave a very beautiful example. They say, imagine if it starts raining. When it rains in a particular area, rain will drop on every surface, whether it's asphalt, whether it's grassy area, whether it's, for example, rocks or stones, whether it's a desert type of area. It'll drop its, drops on every land which exists in that area where it's raining. You'll have all different types of surfaces, in other words, where it's raining. But guess which surface will benefit more from the rain? The asphalt, the road, the rocky surface, or the desert, or the grassy land. Definitely the grass, which is fertile enough to produce something once rain reaches it. So rain was not prejudiced in choosing where I should land. It landed on all surfaces equally. But which one of these surfaces had the ability to utilize this rain properly? That land which is fertile, that grassy area. He said Quran similarly comes down on every heart. It could be recited by a mu'min, it could be recited by a Muslim, it could be recited by a mushrik, it could be recited by a kafir, it could be recited by anyone. But who will benefit from this book? Those who are muttaqeen. That's what it's trying to generate from it. It says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The book is for everyone. Today anyone can go online and purchase this book. You go to Barnes & Noble, you can buy this book. You go to Amazon, you can purchase this book. Even you don't have to buy it, you go online, there's so many resources available that you can download this book. Quran is there. But who will be able to benefit properly from this Quran? Hudan lil muttaqeen, those who are ba taqwa. So he said, it's a blessed book which you have revealed so that you will reflect upon its verses, but the people of understanding will take heed. We will all read, we will all reflect on its verses, but only those who are people of understanding, they will be able to take heed from Quran. What does that mean, taking heed from Quran? That means when Quran warns us of something, we pay attention to it. If you're driving down a road and it's raining, and if you're going up on let's say, a bridge, there are signs flashing danger, dangerous conditions. It may be slippery, road may be slippery. All these signs are flashing, telling you what? Giving you warning that be careful when you drive up onto the bridge. Slow down, don't speed, put your blinkers on, put your wipers on, do all of that stuff when you're driving up this bridge. But it's still someone goes ahead and has an accident. What does that mean? That means they weren't paying attention. All of these signs, flashing signs, written signs, everything is telling you. And even without these signs, the conditions are telling your intellect to be careful. Use care, take heed. But yet some people will not take heed and they'll still go ahead and end up speeding on that bridge, and they'll end up hitting someone or getting into an accident. Quran similarly, on numerous occasions, warns us that mata'ud dunya qaleel, that the wealth of this world is little. It's something which is minute. You should not even pay heed towards it. Yet, Hazrat Insan is constantly following that track. So, enough for those who are ulul albab. The text of Quran is in the written form, therefore it's called kitab. It is derived from revelation and unlimited knowledge of Allah, so it is anzalna. Contents are blessed, so it says mubarak. Reason behind its revelation is to contemplate, liyadabbaru. Knowledge and recognition about the sciences is a prelude to a spiritual journey and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it says, liyadakkaru. Only intellectuals will have this tawfiq. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the tawfiq so that you have the ability to understand this book. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So therefore, contemplation in Quran is very important, highly addressed in numerous ayat of Quran. I'll skip all of those ayat so that we get to the other aspects of this discussion tonight, which is about Quran. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam said that Quran is bahran la yudraku qa'ru. Quran is a sea whose depths are unknown. We have Atlantic Ocean, we have Pacific Ocean, we have all these Indian Ocean and all these oceans. Some, to an extent, people have been able to understand the depths of these oceans. But even after having understood the depths of these oceans, it's still something, falls into these oceans. An object such as a plane or a ship of that magnitude is very difficult for them to locate it for many, many years. So you can tell, you can still understand that with all the technological advancements that we have, it's still insan is a little bit behind when it comes to understanding the depths of these oceans that we have. Amir al-Mu'mineen compares Quran with what? Compares it with ocean whose depths are unknown. So that is the reason every time you pick up this book, you read and you understand the translation of it, you read the tafsir of it, it opens many gates of knowledge for you. The reason that Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying the depth of this book is unknown. Usually the speech of individual over span of a long time changes, reaches perfection, then self-contradicts it. Person will reach some sort of perfection, but then they'll go ahead and contradict themselves. No, this was not the way it should be, or this is not how I meant it, or we need to amend this law, or we need to change this rule, for example, because it's no longer applicable. All of these things. But Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years in which there were different circumstances such as war, peace, poverty, fame, power, weakness. That too, it was being explained through the tongue of a person who never studied a word in this world. Prophet did not study anything in this world. He brought all the knowledge from min ladun, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet there is no contradiction, no conflict in it, and the reason is because it's the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's not the kalam of human beings. That is the reason that you don't find any contradictions in Quran. But don't think that nobody actually made an effort to find contradictions in Quran. People went ahead. They looked for those ayat which could be contradictory to one another. I'll explain a few verses of that nature so that tomorrow if someone brings these ayat to us, we're prepared and we're ready to answer. Because he said, well, yeah, Moulana said there's no contradiction in Quran. We believe him because Quran is our book. And there's no alteration, there's no fabrication, there's no tahreef. But what about these ayat? There's, straightforward contradiction that exists in these ayat. What about those ayat? So there are about 4 or 5 examples that I'll give you, which may seem like that there's apparent contradiction, but inshallah we'll try and address them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But before we get to those, I'll recite this ayah from Surah Nisa, verse 84. It said, do they not contemplate the Quran? Had it been from someone other than Allah, they would have surely found much discrepancy in it. The fact that there isn't any discrepancy is why? Because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, in one place in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? He says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. He said, those who bring iman and their hearts are at rest with the dhikr of Allah. Indeed, with the dhikr of Allah, the hearts find serenity, itminan. They find comfort, they find solace, they find serenity. They're at ease. Just to make it simple, the hearts are at ease. So, what's the gist of the ayah? Ayah is basically saying, with the dhikr of Allah, with the remembrance of Allah, what happens? Your hearts are what? Say it. At ease. Now I'll put another ayat for you. It says that إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Mu'min is someone, when the ayat are recited, it increases their iman. And when إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجَلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. When Allah is remembered, their hearts what? Start to shake. Start to tremble. That's another ayat of Quran. That ayat of Quran and this ayat of Quran. What happened? There's this apparent contradiction. Why not? One says with the dhikr of Allah, you're at ease. One says with the dhikr of Allah, you're trembling. There's a contradiction. Trembling is not equal to being at ease. So how do you put a parallel between these two? Well, if someone brought this ayat to you, you say, well, yeah, there is a contradiction in Quran. I don't know. The word ease is opposite of, being scared and afraid. He said, no. If you were to refer to Ma'asum and look in the tafsir, you'll find that there's really no contradiction. There is a parallel between these two ayat. And what is that parallel between the two ayat? I'll explain it with a couple of examples. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That when it says, when a child is walking down an alley with his father, holding on to his father's hand. Imagine a child 5 or 6 years old. Let's say you have to walk from here, Georgia Road, all the way to the end of where the signal is. At night. It's dark. There aren't any street lights. The child has no fear, none whatsoever. Why? Because he's holding on to the hand of someone who he has complete reliance on, complete trust, complete faith. Father may be scared because he doesn't know what to expect on this, dark alley. There could be some animal that may come out. There might be potholes. There might be something dangerous out there. But the child has no fear, zero fear. Why? Because he's holding on to the hand of someone who he trusts his life with. So at this point, this child has zero fear. Father may be fearful, but the child has zero fear. At another occasion, father caught his son doing something inappropriate and then grabbed the hold of his hand, and now he's walking out with him. The same alley. The same child who was trusting his father and had complete reliance upon him was without a fear. But now his heart is pounding. Pounding, right? Now his heart is trembling and shaking. Why? Because he was caught doing something which was inappropriate. Or another example. A surgeon, a person who's done hundreds of heart surgeries. Open heart surgery is a walk in the park for him. For patient, it's, life-threatening situation, but for the doctor, it's a walk in the park because he's done hundreds of them. He does it every day, for example. Or maybe multiple surgeries a day, for example. So it's easy task for him. But today he has to perform the surgery on someone who's very important. Let's say a president. Let's say a marja taqleed. Let's say imam of the time. Now when he's performing the surgery, his hands are trembling. Just when the occasion is bigger, right away. Ayatollah Hui mentioned this, that he was speaking, he was giving lecture, and once because his father was in the presence, this is way back now when he was very old himself. He said his father was there, so his voice started to stutter. He would have started to stutter. He would have started to shake up a little bit. His voice will start shaking up. The fear that someone older is watching. And why go too far? We can read in the examples of even Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That Imam would have this opportunity to listen to his grandfather and rush back home to his mother and explain what father and grandfather has said. So Rasulullah would talk about Quran, the wahi of Quran, the revelation of Quran. Imam Hassan would come home and recite exactly the same thing to his mother, because Janab Sarah would not go to the masjid. When Amir al-Mu'mineen would come home to say, well, your father recited this ayat today, she said, I already know. So how do you know? So well, your son Hassan came before you and he explained everything to me. He told me what was revealed, what was taught by Rasulullah. So Imam Ali said, okay, tomorrow I'll come early and I'll watch. So he hides behind the curtain. Imam Hassan comes. Now he wants to explain to his mother the same thing, but his voice is not, going along with him. He's shaking up. He's stuttering. His mother said, oh my son, what is wrong with you? How you're not been able to explain to me the way you've been able to explain to me in the previous days? He said, لَعَلَّ سَيَّدَ يَرْعَانِي. It is possible a Sayyid, that means his father or master, someone older than him, someone more knowledgeable than him, is certain and he hugged his son, and he hugged his, and he explained that yes, this is what happens when you're speaking in front of someone who is more knowledgeable than you. So I'll wrap up. I guess I'll just get to one example, and I'll wrap up. That's what happens that when you do the dhikr of Allah, when the dhikr of Allah is done, and you are, at ease because you don't have any sins upon you, or you don't have any major sins upon you. You've been obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then when the dhikr of Allah is done, your heart is at ease. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innu qulub. But on the other hand, when the dhikr of Allah is being done, and there is some disobedience in you, or there is that fear of the punishment of the hereafter, then what happened? Wajalat qulubuhum. Their hearts start to shake, and their hearts start to tremble. So yes, these two ayat apparently may seem like that there is contradiction in it, but if you look at it from this context, there isn't any contradiction in it. I wanted to explain a couple more of these verses of Quran. There are 5 or 6 verses which apparently seems like that there are contradictions in it, but when you look at it from the kalam of Ma'asumeen, you find that there isn't any contradiction. Inshallah, if I'll have time, I'll go into the details of it tomorrow as well. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to live up to the expectations of our Prophet, so that we are not those from whom he's saying that my people abandoned this Quran. We are not amongst those people. Tomorrow Prophet will be complaining in the hereafter that, oh my Lord, my people abandoned this Quran. Make sure that we are the ones who recite this Quran, who contemplate on this Quran, make Quran to be access of our life and central position in our life, and make Quran to be something which we apply on our daily life. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh mu'idha a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli. Fatiha Quran. Sponsors. Adhan.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa lillahi alhamd. Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar, Allahu akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي حجة الله. هيا على الصلاة، هيا على الصلاة. الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم اجعل قلبي بار وعملي سار وشخار ورزقي دار وأولادي أبرار واجعل لي إن قبل نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستغفرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك ونحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد ذلك الله ربي الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد تسبيحنا بفاطمة الزهراء
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت رب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير وهذا شهر عزمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خير من 1000 شهر فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رخبتي من النار في من تمن عليه وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور اللهم أغن كل فقير اللهم أشبع كل جائع اللهم اكس كل عريان اللهم اقتدين كل مدين اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب اللهم رد كل غريب اللهم فك كل أسير اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من الأمور المسلمين اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم صد فخرنا بغناك اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك اللهم اغفر عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. صلاة العشاء. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. ذلك الله ربي. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم اغن كل فقير. اللهم اشف كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اغز عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير.
Please recite Surah Fatiha for all the Marumeen, especially the Shuhada of Islam and also the people who have made the iftar possible today.
السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليكم وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وعنيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض طوس علي بن موسى رضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب الأسر والزمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته.